This is a romantic thriller about a boy who fell in love with his stepmother while his dad is away. And a lawyer interviews an underage client. When she gets home, her husband Pierre tells her that his son, Theo, was arrested for slapping a teacher. Pierre packs his bags to go pick Theo up. Meanwhile, and goes to a nail salon and tells her sister, Mina, that Theo will be living with them because Pierre wants to spend more time with his son. At the salon, Mina's ex-husband drops off their son, Lucas, and invites Lucas to play with her daughters and asks Mina to join them for a meal, but Mina declines. Later, and goes home with some things for Theo. As she leaves Theo's room, he comes out of the bathroom after a shower and comments on how grown he looks. Things are starting to feel suspicious. Before moving forward, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. It will help us keep bringing your favorite movie recaps. The family eats breakfast, and Theo shows up shirtless, clearly trying to tempt his stepmom. Angela, one of the girls, gives Theo a welcome gift. She and her sister Serena made him a keychain, and Theo thanks them. Later, and comes home from work and notices the girl's gift for Theo lying on the ground. While on the phone, she enters her daughter's room and sees Angela practicing judo with Theo. That night, Pierre tells and that Theo believes he adopted the girls to make up for being a bad father. They get close and start doing the thing, and rambles about her love for older men, probably because she enjoys the grandpa smell and mothballs. In the morning, Pierre catches Theo smoking in his room and scolds him. He warns Theo to focus on his studies since exams are coming up, but Theo brushes him off and tells him to leave. Frustrated, Pierre takes Theo's phone, but Theo gets upset. Unsure of how to handle the situation, Pierre gives the phone back and leaves, clearly out of parenting ideas. Later, and picks Mina up from the salon, and they return home to find the house in chaos. And calls Pierre to report a burglary and tells Theo to check his room for missing items. While doing laundry, and finds Theo's keychain in a pair of pants. She confronts him about it, and when Theo tries to grab it back, she explains that she put it in her bag after finding it outside and forgot to return it, and demands an explanation from Theo because her bag was stolen during the robbery, and the only way he could have the keychain is if he had taken her bag. Theo denies knowing anything, but threatens to tell Pierre and the police. Theo refuses to care, so offers to keep quiet if he tries to get along with the family. Later, and struggles to reach swimming equipment on a shelf in the laundry room, and Theo helps her. She invites him to join their trip, and he agrees. At the lake, Theo devours a Big Mac despite claiming to be a vegetarian, and laughs, relieved she doesn't need to buy vegetarian food for him anymore. No wonder he's so scrawny, she thinks. She watches Theo play with the girls in the lake, feeling playful, and joins them and starts dunking Theo in the water. On the ride home, the girls fall asleep while and Theo bond, and asks about his tattoos, and Theo reveals he tattooed himself. He examines her arm, suggesting where he could tattoo her, but pulls her arm away, laughing. Eventually, she gives in, and Theo starts tattooing her. While, and works later, Theo enters the house and introduces a girl named Amanda. They head to his room together, and can't help but feel jealous. The next day, Pierre drinks with guests while, and looks bored. She leaves and rides off with Theo on his scooter to buy more cigarettes. At a bar, and asks about Amanda. Theo explains she isn't his girlfriend and says emotional relationships aren't his thing. Then Theo turns the conversation to Anne, asking about her relationship with his father and her past, and has nothing to share. Theo gets a text and abruptly leaves. When and returns home, she finds Pierre cleaning up after the guests. Pierre asks where she went, and she fibs, saying she went for a stroll. Pierre feels annoyed and thinks it's rude that she left without telling him or hanging out with their guests. He tells her to act more normal, but shrugs him off, saying she finds normies dull. Frustrated, Pierre storms off. The next day, Anne and Mina are chatting when Pierre comes home from work. He finds Theo, Lucas, and the girls bouncing on the trampoline. Pierre tells Serena he can't join them because he needs to pack for a work trip and will be gone for a few days. Later, and notices Theo glued to his phone, watching a movie. She plops down next to him, but Theo keeps stealing glances at her. One thing leads to another, and they end up in an intense moment of meat injection game. Afterward, Theo lies back, catching his breath, while unwraps her robe and tells him they can't go there again and should pretend it never happened. That evening, Theo brings in a beer and a voice recorder. He starts asking her personal questions, trying to dig into her past, and opens up about how adopting the girls was the best part of her life. But the worst was losing the chance to have her own kids after making a tough decision in her youth. Theo suddenly asks her about her first time, which makes an uncomfortable. She dodges the question, but Theo keeps pressing. When he asks why she won't answer, and tells him that some things in life are better left in the past, Theo hints that they're alike, but shuts him down, saying there's no them. Theo leans in and kisses her, saying he'll keep her secrets if she tells him, and firmly says no, and Theo backs off, switching off the recorder and apologizing while and wipes away a tear. Theo's satisfied and by getting close and sharing some pleasure moments in bed. Later, and checks in on her client Sarah, whose dad recently pulled her out of school. Ann's worried because Sarah hasn't been answering her calls or texts. While they chat, Sarah's dad calls her from inside the house, and Sarah quickly tells and to bounce. Feeling uneasy, and calls child services to dig up info on Sarah's dad. After leaving, and heads to Serena's birthday party. Theo helps her set up but keeps getting all handsy. While and helps Serena fill up her new toy with water, Theo sneaks in for a quick moment with her. They mess around until and catches Mina glaring at them, clearly disgusted. Mina storms off but comes back the next day for the party. Later, and pulls Theo aside for a private talk. She tells him their thing is way too risky and that they need to end it to keep the family drama free. She makes him promise to take their secret to the grave. Theo kisses her goodbye, ends things officially, but can't resist warning her that she'll be jealous of his next flings. At breakfast, and chats with Pierre, who mentions that Mina called him but didn't say much, and grows tense as Theo struts around shirtless, clearly still trying to push her buttons. Pierre suggests taking Theo on a bonding trip, but isn't thrilled about the idea. She's worried Theo might act out. Eventually, Pierre and Theo head off, leaving and the girls alone at home. That night, Anne reads her daughters a bedtime story, leaves Pierre a voicemail, and sneaks into Theo's room. She finds his recorder and nabs the tape with her recording on it. After Anne drops the girls off at horseback riding practice, she gets a call while driving. She searches for her phone in her purse, gets distracted, and crashes the car. And the girls take a taxi home, where the girls mention the broken car to Pierre, and serves lunch, noting that Theo won't be joining because he's probably busy with Amanda. Pierre looks unhappy with and glares at her, making her lose her appetite. Pierre tells Anne to sit down because they need to talk. He explains that during their trip, Theo confessed that and had an affair with him, and remains silent when Pierre confronts her. She then stands up, tears in her eyes, and calls Theo's claim ridiculous. She calls Theo a miserable child seeking attention and asks Pierre not to believe him. Pierre is unsure who to believe, and asks him why she would have an affair with her stepson. Pierre tells her to stop defending herself, saying Theo shared too many details that couldn't be made up. And, angry, doesn't listen and complains about being lied to despite treating Pierre with care and respect. She packs her things, ranting about Theo, and tries to convince Pierre that his son is a monster who's treated her terribly, and says Theo broke into their house and stole their things. But she didn't tell Pierre because she had given Theo a second chance. She claims Theo wants Pierre to reject her so that Theo can have his father all to himself. Ironically, she calls Pierre easy to manipulate like a child. Pierre hugs Anne, and they both cry in each other's arms. The next morning, Anne and Pierre talk to Theo. Pierre apologizes for being an incompetent father and brings up what Theo said during their trip. He tells Theo he shouldn't make up stories or accuse anyone, no matter how angry he is. Theo glares at them, shocked that his father doesn't believe him. He insists he didn't lie and asks to tell the truth, but she smiles cunningly at him and asks Theo why he made up excuses, and he calls them both crazy. Pierre warns Theo to tell the truth, saying that everyone needs to be honest to be a family, or he can't live with them anymore. Theo is pressured to admit he lied, but he stays silent as a tear falls down his cheek, and sits beside him and says she will let it go if he admits it, but he stands up and storms out. Angela and Serena hug Theo goodbye, and he leaves with Pierre. A few days later, Theo visits and at her office and demands she tell his dad everything, and tells him it's his fault for blurting out what happened, so he must face the consequences. She asks if she forced herself on him or assaulted him after he threatens to report her, but Theo says it isn't important. He explains the real issue is that she is his father's wife, and 2 times older than he is. When Theo says it's his turn to lie, and calls him out, saying no one will believe him because he has no credibility, unlike her. She tells him that accepting his fate won't hurt his future. She urges him to give up because she's not his enemy, but Theo doesn't respond and slams the door on his way out. Sarah visits and brings a bouquet to thank her for saving her life and helping her live better. As and arranges the flowers, Mina walks up behind her and hugs her. Mina says she can't stay angry with and for long, and thanks her for spending Christmas with them. The girls open their presents after and sneaks them under the tree, and it gets a gift from Pierre, an expensive bracelet. Anne and Theo walk into a lawyer's office, and the attorney informs them that Theo wants to press charges against Anne, and argues that Theo is lying and that this is blackmail, so no lawsuit is needed. The lawyer doesn't care about her remarks and asks if she plans to pursue the matter, and agrees and says goodbye to Theo before leaving. Later, Anne wakes up to Theo banging on the front door. When she asks what he's doing, he says he wanted to see her and gets close, and pushes him away, reminding him of their deal. But Theo ignores it and starts kissing her, and tells him he's drunk, but she eventually gives in. They play a meat game on the ground in the shed, and Anne says he's crazy. He replies that she's crazy too, crazy for him, and returns to bed with Pierre, who asks what happened. She explained that Theo was drunk outside, and she had called a taxi for him. Pierre notices her body is cold and tells her to be quiet, likely already knowing what happened. The movie ends there, leaving us without closure. What really happened? Do you think Anne was taken advantage of when she was younger and ended up doing the same to Theo? Or was it all consensual? Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like. It really helps the channel. Thank you for watching.